speak for you sometimes when he says, but Ed had said, I had heard this through eventually through him, but I had heard through my agent first that he'd seen me be vulnerable in movies, but he'd never seen me not be vulnerable. And so he didn't totally know if I could do it. And so I went in and I decided somewhere, I think, maybe unconsciously, that I had to be a little bit like Jamie Reedy or Jamie Randall, as we eventually called him in the movie, and sell myself to him. And I think I did, but I knew immediately that I could play this part. I mean, I don't know if I pulled that off, but I feel like I have. And it was one of those instances where I just read it and I was so moved by it. And I had actually read it in another incarnation. I had read it when it was just Charles Randolph before Ed had rewritten it with Marshall. And it just moved me so much, and I had to beg him for it.
I'm going to take it back to 2006 when I first met Ed, and we had one of my favorite meetings that I've ever had with anyone, and we just talked about a whole host of things, and he was telling me about this movie that he had coming out called Blood Diamond, and I said, okay, it might take me a minute, but I'm going to go to see it, and I'm going to call you when I see it. Now, when was that movie released? Was it released, I think, November early?
2007, maybe, yeah?
Oh, well, maybe I'm taking it back to 2000.
Whatever, ish.
No, we meant 2000. It came out 2007. Well, anyway, this is a great story. So anyway, I called you many months later to say that I'd seen it and how much I enjoyed it. And I think you thought I was insane for picking up the phone and actually following up on that when I couldn't quite reach you. And then I don't know. A couple of months later, I found out that you had this screenplay that was apparently that was a joy of a read, and I read it, and I was really intrigued by the potential of the character of Maggie. Maybe not exactly the way she was on the page.
How do you mean?
Well, because I think when you're dealing with the reality of the character, as the things that struck me about her was that she was unbelievably intelligent, that she had been handed a really difficult diagnosis, that she had a young onset Parkinson's disease, which she hadn't made her peace with yet, and that she was kind of this overtly sexual character. And there weren't very clear through lines yet for how all of those things worked together. And what Ed and I and Marshall explored, and what I hope made it onto the screen, I feel that it did, was this idea that this is a girl who's been traumatized by her diagnosis and has decided that the way she's going to deal with that is to push the world away and to make herself into a male fantasy in a way, to be able to be in control of the men that come into her lives so that she kind of holds all the cards, so that way when she's having a bad day, she doesn't have to have them around. When she's having a good day, they only see the good parts of her that she wants, and that as she meets Jamie and opens up her heart, she's forced to confront that limitation that she deals with on a daily basis and has to grow beyond it. And I saw that potential in there, and so it just became a matter of us having conversations to make sure we're all on the same page.
I mean, I would add, you're being modest, and I think Jake is too, that when you have actors of this sort, and they have the kind of intelligence that these two have, and the artistic ambition, you ignore them at your peril. That they have so much to contribute, and there were times that we would sit there and first hear them do the words, or then talk to them about the scenes, and say, great, let's stop for the day, and Marshall and I would go back and look at each other saying, are we good enough to try to accomplish the things that they are challenging us to do? Both of them, and that was the joy of it, was to really say this is a collaboration between, artists, and anything we achieved, we got to together.
There was this wonderful moment when we started off, before we started shooting in Pittsburgh at production office, and what was the building? Whose office do you have in that building?
Oh, it's Rick Santorum's office in Pittsburgh, yeah.
So there we are in this sitting around this table with all the actors.